Good evening, guys. Welcome to the show. Welcome back again. Well, it's been a couple of weeks since we were on last. A few dilemmas and stuff like that. But yeah, if you like the show, you love the show, please, can you subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on those notifications. So this week is a slightly different format to as usual. We have our guest this week, and we have a new presenter. Sorry. Trevor Palmer, welcome to the team.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
So, we're happy to have you.
Yes,
I feel I am honored, and I'm excited. This is gonna be fun.
We are too.
It just seemed that I was outvoted at some points, but there's two women against.
Yeah, I know. You just want to hog the pretty ladies all to yourself. I see.
I know. Yeah. Anyway, that's.
When Peter suggested getting a new host, the first thing I said was no more women. Okay, like no more women.
Yeah,
Lynda and I are good. Lynda and I are good. You know what I mean?
We're enough. We're enough. We are.
We're enough. We're enough estrogen.
Yeah.
That's it. It was enough having two women going at it, and I've just thought to myself, I need to get someone in there just to kind of bring my mind down a bit onto a guy's level as well. But.
Well, and then when he suggested you, I was like, "Yes, let's do it. Let's bring Trevor on. This is awesome. We like Trevor.
This is great. Yeah, love the opportunity. Like I said, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, us too.
Fantastic. So, how you been, guys? Kathy, how you been? What you been doing?
Doing all right. Yeah, doing okay. We're I have nothing to add. Isn't that ridiculous? No, actually, things are okay. Yeah, it's been nice weather here. We went to, our Klondike Days. I don't know if you guys know what that is. That would be like a fair or, exhibition or, the games, the rides, the whole bit. Went there yesterday with my son. I had trouble walking today because silly me wore the flimsiest shoes that I could possibly find, thinking that I was going to be perfectly okay for 10 hours on my feet. And that wasn't, an intelligent thought. So whatever. But yeah, doing good. Otherwise, yeah, doing really good. We're, happy it's holidays. That's for sure. Happy it's summer holidays.
Yes. Lynda, how are you?
Great. A lot of really good things have happened. It was my mom's 89th birthday.
Wow.
I know, crazy. I can't fathom that. And we have a new team member. So we have, we have a brand new tech that's joined the team. And welcome, Caitlin Moore. I'm so excited because our website will finally get updated and she'll be on all our socials. So finally, everything is coming together. So that's a good thing. That's a really good thing.
Yeah, that's awesome when you can find people that have those kind of talents.
God, it was like, right? It was like, I don't know, the universe went, here she is. So that was a good thing. And I'm really excited to meet you, Trevor.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, well, hopefully I don't disappoint.
I don't know if you were on the show. We had Trevor actually on before, and you were with your partner or your other director. Is that right? I think he was the other director.
Yeah, Pete.
Was it Pete? Yeah. So my lead tech. And my smart guy. So I like
smart guy. Oh my god.
Smart guy. Yeah, were you on the show for them, Lynda? I can't remember if you were or not.
You know what? I don't think so. And if you hear anything, we're having a really wicked thunderstorm. So it's really wicked. It's incredible. The sky just lit up. So if I disappear, you know why.
Yeah, we've got about 37 degrees upstairs, so I'm quite happy just sitting in the cool downstairs in the basement.
Yeah.
It's nice, but Trevor and his team, I've known them for a number of years from the organisation that I used to be associated with, and they broke off on their own. Out the whole team, I think every person that I kind of gelled with went off and started Western Idaho Paranormal, and they're like they're like my bread and butter team down in the States. Looking forward to getting back down.
We're the Southern hillbilly cousins.
Yeah, he's not quite hillbilly. So you talk sophisticated as well. Apart from Pete, sometimes he sounds like he's got
For
it
sure.
sounds like he's got a mouthful of golf balls. But Pete, if you're tuning in, I love you. But so yeah, just drifting through. So what about investigations and stuff like that, Lynda? Have you got anything on at the moment? Is there anything ticking over at the moment?
We did one investigation in Scarborough, which is sort of outside of our territory. It's closer to Toronto. We don't normally venture that close to Toronto, but we did, and it was quite an interesting one because while we were there, we got some interesting evidence, a lot of noises and sounds and strange things happening, voices coming over the the spirit box, and it was interesting. So we're gonna again go through all of the audio and see if there's other stuff that we missed. And now that we have a new team member, that's going to be even better because then her ears are going to maybe hear things that ours didn't. So that's kind of exciting. But no, we're planning our October events now, which is insane.
Yeah, we had a few investigations kind of blow out through unfortunate circumstances, but you kind of put that into perspective because it's summer as well, and people had legitimate problems as well, and probably a small percentage of it was bullshit because they just wanted to make most of the weather and they didn't want us coming around when they can be going outside barbecues and stuff like that. So, but it's it's been a steady summer. It's been nice to kind of just to get back for a couple of months and not really do a lot. We've got Barkerville coming up as well, which I sent you an invite for, Kathy. I don't know if you can make it or not. We've got a couple of days up in Barkerville historical site, which is the oldest historical site in Western Canada, apparently. So it's we were up there last year, and I think I told you about it before, you guys before, but we were up there last year and we did an investigation for a day up there, and it's like, where do you even start with 126 cabins and a courthouse as well? And it was just like we spent 5 hours just doing a tour of the site, and by the time we set equipment up and we were like walking around, it was like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and we were like done by then. so we're going back this year, but we've got the manager was supposed to be on this week, actually, James Douglas, but got a really good relationship with the manager, and we're going back up there this year in September, going up there for a couple of days, renting the site up. So
that's what I was going to ask. How many are you going to get? Multiple days up there?
We've got Saturday and Sunday up there. We've rented the site. It's only like it's about $300 a day.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's great.
It's when you consider, like, we've got there's about 9-10 people going. So if you divide that up, and then we're gonna like me and Jason are going to be subsidizing for the site as well, because we're doing a couple of fundraising events this year for our foundation as well. So it will be looking forward to that. But I don't know, like kind of in that mindset at the moment where I'm happy just kicking back at the moment, just kind of taking a step back. And there are like residential cases and stuff like that. We've had a few of them come up, but I'm kind of a bit picky in my old age. So it's funny how it gets to that. But there's no sense of urgency anymore doing things as well. So it's cool. What about yourself, Trev? You guys been busy?
Yeah, actually, we've been really busy. Our summer is really kicking off. We've recently been approached by one of the local historical societies here, Canyon County Historical Society, and they're wanting to partner with Western Idaho Paranormal to help revitalize their downtown area and all their historic district, and asked us to start putting on some lectures and some presentations and some public investigations. So we've done 2 investigations at the old Nampa Train Depot so far in the last 2 months. And then we did a lecture for them this month. And we have HorrorCon coming up in August, which is a big horror convention that it's only in its 2nd year, but it's already sold out, as I understand it. And we are going to be doing 2 presentations for them at the convention center. And then we're also doing a big public investigation at the Nampa train depot. We're going to get a portion of the ticket costs that Horicon is charging, and we're going to donate that entirely to the Candy County Historical Society. So we're doing that. Today, I was all day out at a festival called Goddess Fest in Boise, which is different. And but it was pretty good. We were able to get a lot of good contacts out there today, and that was a lot of fun. It's 93 degrees Fahrenheit right now over here, so I can feel your pain as far as the heat goes. But yeah, so we've got a full summer so far, and it's getting good. It's been nice. You know, my Western Idaho Paranormals, we've only been around for about 6 years. And aside from Facebook and Instagram, I mean, we haven't really done any advertising or anything like that. But, the response that we've been getting is fantastic, and getting a lot of attention from not only the social media, but, you know, local news outlets here. You know, finally starting to get some recognition from some of the local community organizations. And so, yeah, we're looking forward to seeing what the future has for us.
Are you the only investigation team in your area at all, or is there several?
No, there's several small groups. I believe we are the largest group. I may be wrong. I haven't really kept tabs on some of the other teams, but the team that we used to affiliate with, they're still doing their thing. And they still run, they mainly do a lot of public investigations, like for the old Idaho Penitentiary and Geyser Grand Hotel and things like that.
Right.
Yeah, so there are a few teams still kicking around. So we actually was really cool at the lecture that we gave at the train depot. We met a very small team, very new, very young. It was really cool to see them there. They were just wanting information. They just wanted to learn. And, you know,
right.
we you know, met them, shook hands with them, talked with them quite a bit, followed them on Instagram. They were following us already and stuff. And they just, you know, wanted whatever knowledge and help that they could get. And I thought that was fantastic. So I'm hoping to see a lot more of that, a little bit more collaboration between the paranormal teams around here, making contacts.
Find a team that you can collaborate with that have, you know, similar ideologies or similar, you know, theories, that sort of thing. Right?
Yeah. Well, kind of like, you know, Peter said, you know, he's like, man, we've been busy. I need a little bit of a rest here. I need a little bit of a break. And it's nice to have a team that's reputable that you can refer people to if you can't get to the case right away. So, and that's something that's really hard to find, is like those reputable teams, you know, that aren't making stuff up, and, you know, so, and that are going to treat your clients well, so that when, you know, because that would be the worst thing for me, is that me refer somebody and then get a call from that person. It's like, who the heck are these people, or why did you send them my way?
Yeah.
That was the toughest thing when I was president of the Vancouver Paranormal Society, was finding that team to collaborate with. It's just, I think North America's all the same, and I got it when I was the director of TAPS, because you kind of get that broader view about you know, like America and Canada and how they operate and stuff like that. Field's full of egos, and it makes it very difficult to gel with other teams, because the ultimate thing that you should be looking for in anyone in this field is trust, and that there isn't a lot of it. And we have, unfortunately, a field full of people wanting to help people, but they're the ones that need to be helped in the first place, because they've got screw loose, basically, and it's very hard. And like I obviously embraced your team, and like with Cathy as well, when Cathy's first joined TAPS as well, I gelled with her and Lynda as well. And like, you know, there's a select bunch, and I think it's more the older generation now that I seem to gel more with, that have been around for a little bit longer, because they're very standoffish, and they've been around the block a few times, and they know all the shenanigans, and but they keep themselves above the snow, and they're friendly as well at the same time. And I'm not saying for 1 minute that we're ever going to have that para unity that everyone goes on about and stuff like that. But I think at the same time, we should be friendly to other co-investigate other teams as well that have the same mindset as us at the same time as well.
I feel like a lot of the younger generation are in it. They're looking for that thrill. They're looking for that 15 minutes of fame. They're trying to get their name out, and they're worried that another team or somebody's going to steal that thunder.
Yeah.
They are. And
or they want to make a TV show or a YouTube channel, or they just, it's about the clicks and the clout chasing and, all of that other nonsense, right?
Exactly. That they I've seen a lot of people come forward to me when I was with VPS, and it's just a lot of the time is just mentoring them into the same, on the same wavelength as us, and they are teachable, but what they perceive is what Zach Baggins does and what ghost hunters do and stuff like that, and it's not, it's what perceives on TV is a day-old thing. It's not necessarily what we do on the field, and they interpretate that, and that's where they get their they get their mindset of how to actually investigate. It's frustrating at the same time, but they don't know any different, and
That's really true. It's interesting you say that, because our tech left a little while ago, and we really were looking for someone. And people who attended our public meetings, I mean, they always come forward and say, "Oh, pick me," but you have to jive with somebody. You have to have the same philosophy. You have to understand that, exactly. It's not all Zach Bagans. It's not all ooh and ah. I mean, there are weeks sometimes that go by that nothing ever happens, and then all of a sudden you get 5 cases at once, and you have to trust who you're working with. You have to understand, right? It's the trust, it's the integrity too, because if you have a team member that does not represent what you do well out there, then that it's not a good thing. So it takes a while.
I would actually say the amount of Zach Bagan's phenomenon that goes on is like in the minority of percentages on most cases. Like, you do get it. It does happen.
Yeah.
But, you're probably going to be sitting in a dark room listening to farting from your team members more so than you are.
Yeah, and that's just it. I mean, everything that's portrayed on television is just, it's outlandish and it's ridiculous and it's fun, and that's what they try to portray it as. And you're only seeing very small snippets of things. I think all of our teams could probably edit together episodes just like that make it look like it's, oh my gosh, this is just craziness. And when in reality, it's just hours and hours and hours of sitting in dusty attics and talking to the walls in the dark,
Even sometimes though, when you find something and you get excited at first, you got to go through the whole, we got to prove that this is something, just because you heard a creak or a knock or a squeak or whatever it was, or talking.
Yep. And that's something that we've been trying to drill into our team members when we're doing evidence review now. It's like, it's not that we don't think that they might be something, but, when we hear a knock or a creak or stuff, we don't even write it down anymore. It's like, no, that's not what we're after, because I can't prove that's anything. Now if I say knock 3 times and we get 3 knocks on a, that would be different, right? But every little pop and creak and stuff that's going on isn't a ghost. So, we tell people, it's like, we want something that when you hear it and it blows your mind, write that down and send that in. And that's what we're trying to get.
So sorry, Lynda, were you about to say something?
I was just going to ask, Trevor, I think it was your team. I think it was you guys that sent me the soundbite that one time. Did you do that? Was that you guys that sent that soundbite?
So when I was on last time, we had a soundbite that we featured that we caught from the tuberculosis hospital in Gooding.
Right. And it was a little kid, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Do you mind if I play that?
Please do. Yeah, that's a great clip.
Keep talking, and I'm going to try and find it here. So just give me a minute.
Okay. While she's looking for it, I can set it up for you. So this is out in Gooding, Idaho. It's a place called the University Inn. The University Inn is the last standing building of the old Idaho Tuberculosis Hospital. It was constructed back just before World War II and was scheduled to open at that time. But because of the war, they prolonged that opening until about 7 years after the war finished. That tuberculosis hospital was the most advanced and state-of-the-art tuberculosis treatment center in the world. So they had patients coming in from all different countries and all different walks of life, spoke various languages and things like that to receive their treatment there. We were doing a 3-day investigation, which we try to do there annually if we can. We rent out the place, and so we weren't able to do it this year because they had it booked for some migrant workers that came in for a little while. So we were a little bummed out about that. But hey, everybody needs a place to sleep. So this was taken. The hallway was empty, if I remember correctly. And what you will hear are the sounds of some creaking, which is my investigator, who's Pete, walking up the stairs, and he's going to go outside for a moment. Pete earlier in the day had his son Trey at the building, and they did a small mock investigation where Pete introduced himself as Trey's daddy. And that's important in this because of what the voice says. So are you ready, Kathy?
You bet. I found it. Okay, I'm going to hold it up. I got my volume up as high as I can. Can you hear it? Did you guys hear that?
Yeah. Yeah, that doesn't sound creepy at all.
I never get tired of hearing that.
I got to do that again. Sorry. It blows my mind. Every time I hear that. Did you hear it, Lynda?
I did. That's not creepy at all.
Were you able to understand what the voice said?
Dada. It was something about Dada.
Hi, Dada.
Yeah. It said, "Bye, Dada."
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was really cool. So this was at about 11:30 at night. Trey, his son, had left earlier in the day. So like I said, it was an empty hallway, and it was just, we had that entire building to ourselves. So no children present, or were there?
No. That's awesome.
We've actually caught children voices in there in the past, and we believe we've caught that same voice a few times now. So it's pretty neat.
That's interesting. Wow.
At the same place?
Yeah.
We've had the
Yeah, same area, same place. There's a little game room right there, and I think that's just kind of the hangout spot for that particular spirit.
What kind of famous? I know, like you go through like internet and you Google places like Haunted Idaho and stuff like that, and it brings up places, places as long as your arm of alleged haunted places, and you can probably count with one hand how many places are actually active. In your experience, your team's experience, and I know some of the guys are actually tuning in at the moment. What's been the most active places, public places that you've been to that you're allowed to disclose down in the Idaho area?
Yeah, it was interesting. I was asked this question earlier today at the festival, and it kind of made me pause and think. And my answer was, it depends on the day.
Yeah.
Because there's some days that are just really hopping in certain locations, and you go back to that same location and it's nothing. We've had really good success in places that I didn't think were going to have anything. But I would say locally, currently, I would say that tuberculosis hospital, hands down, has been the biggest hotspot for us over here.
Wow. Yeah. Well, obviously, from just that soundbite alone, I mean, that's, and he couldn't hear that, could he? Like, he didn't hear that.
No, nobody heard it. We had another, and you have to understand, and I'm hoping one of these times we're investigating, I'm going to send invitations to all three of you to come down and join us for that, because it's a great big location, and it's great. But when you're in that building, you can hear everything. So it doesn't matter if you're on the bottom floor, the top floor, the attic, the basement. If somebody's talking, you can hear it. Somebody's walking, you can hear it. It makes it for a very challenging investigation. And so we had a investigator sitting, I think, directly above that camera. He was upstairs, and he didn't hear anything. So yeah, it was a solid EVP.
Wow.
It's funny that obviously with like hospitals and TV hospitals and stuff like that, we have them littered all over Canada, like Canada and Western Canada as well. And I've been there's one famous alleged haunted place where it was an old mental asylum down on the coast, and I was very fortunate to do an 8-hour investigation for WWE Studios, and it was just crickets like for the whole 8 hours. And I'm not saying for 1 minute that an active place should just be jumping at you and stuff like that. Obviously, once you get your teeth into it, it could be anything behind it. It could be a certain time of day. It could be that residual part, or it could be just I didn't pluck the right string at the time to cause any activity and stuff like that. But the stories that are associated with just that place, because it was an old mental asylum and things like that, you would have thought that I ended Satan's grotto straight away, and it just nothing. But then we got there's one particular place where when I was with Vancouver Paranormal Society, we approached them originally just to do fundraising because they're a non-profit society in BC, and we did a kind of tutorial. We did some tutorial investigating there for like new investigators and stuff like that. And like, holy crap, the place just turned insane with activity. Like, even from my standing, it was just like, we got pictures. I got photography pictures. I got like EVPs. I got my name. Like, it got to the point where this site was so comfortable with us going in there. We got our names being called out all the time, and it was just so surreal. So it's just that spectrum, I guess, in relation to people and stories and how stories can be escalated. And yeah, hospitals paint a picture as well. And I have no doubt that they carry that energy. But whether it's that energy that everyone perceives, I guess it's just most of the time, it's just folklore.
It's tough, when you get into those situations too, when you're doing those investigations and nothing's happening, and because it gets boring. And you get tired, and you're in a lot of times fairly dirty or uncomfortable places. And I was just thinking back to our very first client for Western Idaho Paranormal, and they lived in a duplex. And like, it was basically row houses, and it wasn't like real old construction. I think they were built in late 90s, early 2000s, and I'm going in there and I'm like, no way, there's nothing going to go on in here. I mean, come on. And how haunted can a duplex get? And that's exactly how it felt. I was super comfortable in the home, and it was, it was very quiet, and nothing happened the entire night. And, we investigated for 4 or 5 hours. And, but what happened was during the second part, when we did I call it the digital, investigation. I don't like calling it review, because we review evidence after we clip things out. And I want people to understand that digital investigation, that when you're going through all your audio and your video, that's an investigation, and it needs to be taken pretty seriously. We had 13 EVP hits in that, solid hits in that first investigation. My mind was blown. So, even if it's getting boring and you don't know what your instruments are picking up, you don't know what you're getting on those recorders. So, you just kind of have to be disciplined to see it through, and you got to do your client solid and still do that super boring investigation.
We had that happen in a townhome, and we were sort of under that same impression that there wasn't going to be, really anything, or pretty much also too, we were under the mindset that if something did happen, we might have to just dismiss it because it is a townhome, and there could be ambient sounds or whatever, right? It was actually pretty quiet the whole night, but afterwards we were in one of the bedrooms and we were asking, is anyone here, or the typical, basic questions. And at the time, we had a ball with us in the room, and we were asking it to roll or something like that. And we'd asked are you here? Well, the ball did roll. It didn't go like zooming across the room or anything, but it did go up, you know, a little bit. And for us, we were like, okay, well, this is cool, you know, whatever. But it's still nothing dramatic, you know, nothing to the point where we're going to sit there and go, yes, the place is haunted or anything like that. But we got home and we checked out the EVPs. And at that same time, you can hear a voice very clear to the lady that was holding the recorder saying, "I'm right here." Like really upset. Like, hello, you do you not know I'm here? Like very upset. I am right here. And you could tell it was a male. It was a very, very deep voice. And it was right in response to the ball rolling as well as her asking the question. And it was really interesting. We just never expected it.
That's amazing. Yeah.
It was
crazy. That's crazy. Well, it's interesting because I can't even remember. It's early in October at some point. We are going to be going to Prince Edward Heights, which is in Picton, Ontario. It's an old abandoned military hospital, which was turned into a hospital for the I think at that time they called it the mentally disabled. But it's really interesting because it was used now as a paintball facility. And this is going to be my third time going there. We're going with another team that we really collaborate with, who we share a lot of the same philosophies with, and that's Black Moon Paranormal, Crystal Pie and her team.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, and we're going to be going there. And again, this is my third time. First time there were these great expectations, right? Because you hear all these great stories and you think, oh, this is going to be amazing. I'm going to capture so much. And I mean, it was nothing. Second time we went was interesting because we went with a couple of teams, Katie Turner and her team and Crystal and her team. And it was a little better. But again, it wasn't one of those things. And exactly like you said, didn't happen right away. It was upon reflection as well, because we were taking notes when we were there. And we were also, of course, going through all of the digital stuff at the end. And it was only then that we realized that, yeah, we actually did capture stuff, but while we were there, man, it was boring. I mean, walking through all of these abandoned rooms, and because it's a paintball facility, I mean, there's like, oh gosh, there's paintball things everywhere, and it's kind of gross, and there are bats on the second floor, and it was just like, oh gosh, you know.
Did you shoot everybody? I would have been shooting everybody with paintballs.
Oh, I'm telling you,
Definitely.
Right?
True. Like, sometimes it doesn't happen immediately, and it's just afterwards where you go, man, I can't believe I missed that.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but we're going again, and I'm really hoping third time's the charm. You know, keep your fingers crossed, but not your eyes, because it's really hard to see that way. But
it's funny.
Go ahead. We do have a question for you.
Yeah, sorry. Go
on. So Oki, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. Oki Watson, have you ever researched in Albion, Idaho, the old schoolhouses? Yes, actually, we have investigated. Our team members have investigated out in Albion, and Albion's a great place, a beautiful, beautiful place. And we did have activity out there. I had some really cool personal experiences. Mine centered mainly in the auditorium that's out there. So Albion's an old college campus, and they've got a couple different dormitories. They've converted it into kind of like a family reunion center. So you can like rent out buildings and have big family reunions or business get-togethers and things like that. And then during the Halloween season, they build a big fake haunted house in one of their haunted buildings. And it's a pretty fun place. And anyway, one of the buildings is this old dilapidated auditorium. The roof is caved in on it. It's being roosted by thousands of doves, which make an immense amount of noise. And but they've still got you can still walk down in there, and it's a big auditorium. It's got a sloped floor with the stadium seating. one of the experiences I had in there is literally just watched a shadow person walk from one side of that auditorium through the aisle down to the wall and then down to the stage. And it blew my mind because I was like, is anybody else watching this? Because holy cow. And that was pretty cool. And then they have dressing rooms that are underneath the stage. And there's like an old piano still up there on the stage as well, which I'm surprised it hasn't fallen through yet. But we were down in one of those dressing rooms in the pitch black. And up on the stage, it actually startled me. It's one of the few times I actually kind of jumped because of how loud it was, but this really loud pounding on the stage floor that was right above us. And we ran up there, of course, and, nothing around, nothing had fallen down. And so Albion's a pretty cool place. I would consider going back. If we could get some rooms out there, because it's about a 3.5 hour drive from here. So it's, I'd like to go back again. Albion's a cool place.
With all the active locations in Idaho area that you've been to, you visited, have you ever put pieces of the puzzle together in regard to names of people that passed away there? You ever solidified people's claims in relation to what they may feel as that person that's haunted that place?
There's places that we've investigated multiple times that we have caught that same. We know it's the same person or the same spirit.
Okay.
Again, I go back to the tuberculosis hospital. It's one of the places we spent the most time at, because when we go there, we investigate for 72 hours straight. I mean, our equipment runs the whole time. And so it drives my investigators nuts because we have to review it all when we're done. But, I find that we have the most success if that's what we do. We let the equipment run do its business. The hard part is that we haven't been able to get any names from them, but we do get is stories from other people that we've never talked to that tell us the same stories of experiences that are similar to ours.
Right.
Which has been fantastic. But we know that there's we've caught multiple times a female there that speaks. We think it might be Slavic. We've been trying to figure out what the language is.
Yeah.
We've caught the child voice several times. And then we have consistent activity in some of the locations where we hear things sliding, like down in the basement. We'll hear boxes or something sliding around and moving. So, there is a consistency there. Trying to nail that down as far as to who is doing what has been a challenge.
Yeah, that's crazy. Peter, you were saying something that I don't know. I kind of cut you off there. You were saying it's funny that
I can't remember what I was going to say. I was just blindsided with Trevor's response, but I guess
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
No,
Mind blown.
It's been a very long couple of months, and I'm on unwind at the moment, so my brain's just kind of at the moment. So just bear with me. So with your with your team, Trevor, and the way it's obviously you do residential, you do public buildings, you do presentations. How do you define a dwelling or a home or a public location as being active? Is it just by one EVP, or is it a collection of EVPs, or how do you bring that together to come to the conclusion that a place is active, rather than dismissing some of the claims with just natural?
So when we investigate for our clients, when we're going through the interview process with them and things, and I tell them how things are going to go, I always say that it's going to take more than one investigation. Trying to go in and do one investigation for a few hours and trying to determine whether a place is active or inactive, haunted or not haunted, it's impossible. You can't do that. they are there 100% of the time. They are there, and they're having their experiences, and us trying to capture all of what they're experiencing in 4 hours. You can't do it. So we will investigate a place 3-4 times, and if we are getting activity, some form of activity each time, we would consider that place active. I mean, if we go there 4 times and we get 1 EVP hit, might not, we can't say that it's like, really active, obviously, but it's hard to make that judgment again, where you're not the occupant living there. They've got all these claims, and that's the other thing. When we're interviewing, we ask them how often does the activity occur, and when was the last time the activity occurred? Oh, it occurred 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Probably not a real active location. So, but we get, all of my clients, excuse me, I misspoke. All of our clients, Western Idaho Paranormal clients, I give them my phone number. They've got my personal number, and I tell them, hey, if things kick up and you need us there, call me, and we'll put together a team and we'll get out there, because we can try to catch those things in that moment and better help make that determination.
Right.
I have a question for the team, actually, and I'm probably going to start with Lynda. And this is kind of a bit of a deep question, and if you don't want to answer it, don't. You feel free not to. Where with the different theories they have behind EVPs, obviously people think it's mind-focused EVPs. It's actually produced by our unconscious mind, or it's it is actually someone from the dead actually talking to us, or it's residual energy, and there's numerous theories behind EVPs. Where do you think that voice comes from that you hear on a voice recorder?
Well, of course you would start with me, Peter.
I know. I'm going to go. I'll go straight to you. Then sorry.
I've always thought that it comes from, I guess, another frequency, a frequency that we can't hear with the naked ear, a frequency that comes through in that moment that is trying to either answer our questions or get our attention. That's really what I've always thought, even way back when, in the early 80s, when I started doing all of this. I really believed that, and I think I still believe that now. Yeah, that's my answer, and I'm sticking to it.
Is it? Would you say that it was a voice from the other realm, or would you say that it was more? It's still classed as paranormal, residual hauntings, residual energy, and stuff like that. But it's kind of, it does overlap with science, with energy transfer and stuff like that. So if we draw that line to say that residual is more kind of natural and scientific, which scientists will probably screw me over for saying that. But would you say it is paranormal, or it is more kind of could be explained more on the science side in relation to energy and how energy is transferred and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a science to it for sure. And I think when you're talking residual energy, maybe it's more scientific. Whereas, now that's going to sound really weird, but whereas if you get an actual response to your questions and you get an EVP, I think, people would probably classify that as more paranormal, whereas if it's residual, it's more, of a scientific kind of, well, this can be explained because it's residual energy kind of thing. Does that make any sense to you?
It does, but then and I'm not a preacher of science or anything like that. Right. It could be that could be just a coincidence. It's kind of like using that piece of Chinese crap, that ovulus that spits out random words and stuff like that. Right. And eventually get something. And I know, with me, and I'm going to contradict everything I just said there. I've had my full name being called out before, and I've had, some compelling EVPs, and I've heard things as well on the spirit box as well that you can't, there's no way that would be subjected to anything else apart from it being paranormal, unless it's to do with my own mind, which is another theory behind EVPs as well. It's actual mind projection. Is I want my voice recorder to say my name, and somehow that frequency's gone from there to there, which is not paranormal. It could be, in fact, natural. We don't know.
Right.
Sorry, very deep conversation. Anyway, Kathy, what about you? What do you think?
Okay, ask me the question again.
So, EVPs, where do you think that they're generated from? So you get a voice recording, and you deem it as intelligent. And where is it? Is it a voice from the other realm, or do you think that there's more scientific explanation behind it?
Okay, so I mean,
Trevor, you're next. No, I'm kidding.
Bring it on.
Here's where I am is that, as someone who works as a medium, I'm going to say that it's going to be, from the other realm. Now, the interesting thing is somebody would say, well, how come you didn't know that there was somebody in the room? Sometimes you don't, if you're not paying attention, you're not paying attention. If you're paying attention to the little ball rolling across the room, you're going to be paying attention to that. It kind of, I've gone into places where you are definitely feeling stuff and that this and that is kind of kicking around, but I'm not one of those people that walk around like an open channel either. Like, I'm not one of those that is going to stop you in the mall and go, I see your mother. It's your mother's right there.
I would do that just to mess with people. It's just fun.
It's interesting that you say that. So I was at lunch with one person I knew, the other one I had just met, and it was just like a girls' lunch or whatever, and all of a sudden this grandfather figure kept coming through, and I was like, okay, I'm trying to eat my freaking lunch here, and this doesn't happen very often. Like, it really doesn't. I was sort of in that, I'm just enjoying my meal, but I kept getting, I want to say, like, spiritually poked. You're kind of like poke. And so I ended up having to look at this woman who I just met, never knew anything about her. And I said, I have to ask you, there is an older man here. He's saying that he can't speak because he doesn't have a voice, like his voice is gone, or there's something wrong with his throat, but he's telling you something about the time. And here we are having this nice lunch, and I throw this woman into like a crying fit because her grandfather, who had cancer in the throat and had passed away not very long ago, was, basically reminding her, don't let time slip away, which was one of the last things he had said to her.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, okay, I'm sorry for ruining our lunch.
You're a blast at a funeral.
Right? But, he kept poking at me. So when you ask me, do I feel like EVPs are, I think that for the most part, I mean, if they're like Lynda said, if they're intellectual and they're answering you like this man did in this one particular area, in this one particular townhouse, and he's like, I'm right here. I didn't feel him, or I wasn't paying attention to the fact that he was even there. We were just, I don't know, like, we were just more focused on the ball and, as anything here. And that was pretty much, like where my attention went. But I would consider that intellectual, or from the spirit realm, as opposed to it being residual. I do think residual, though. I mean, we hear about this all the time. I mean, the Stanley Hotel is a good example of that. There's a lot of, places that have that residual energy, whether it's limestone, water, whatever. We've had one, the train whistle, that sort of thing, where it's repeating train whistle that you're hearing. There's no train track or train going through anymore. I think that those, I think you got to look environmentally, or possibly, it's a residual thing if it's not coming through as something with a solid answer or a response or whatever it is. That's my view. Yeah.
Trevor?
It's Trevor's turn.
Hand the baton to Trevor.
So first of all, Pete, I needed to let you know that my Pete sent Peter an email and with a file in it that he wanted to share. So I don't know if you got that or not. So, but so hopefully you got it. So, you know, these are the questions, aren't they? You know, these are the things that we want to know, the things that kind of drive our passion is trying to figure out why these things are occurring, how they're occurring. Because if we can figure out the how, we can start getting it to happen more often. We can get it to repeat itself if we just understand that. I look at it kind of like I look at, you know, basic communication. You have the sender, you have the medium, you have the receiver. So, you know, the sender being me, the medium currently is my phone microphone and the World Wide Web and your computer speakers, right? So what happens is I'm sending out my voice. It goes through this medium and it's got to figure out how to get to you to convey that message. And that you have to be able to hear that message and perceive and understand what it is that I'm saying. I don't think it's any different for spirits. I don't understand the biological makeup of a corporeal body. I don't understand, you know, if there's any type of physicality to it at all, if it's 100% mental, you know, it's anybody's guess. But what I do know is that in an intelligent haunt, there is certainly something there that is trying to communicate. That either their version of a physicality, you know, I can't imagine it being, if it's a human spirit, that it would be too much different than what we are right now in a different form. They probably have a mouth, maybe they have a voice, maybe they don't, I don't know. But they're probably trying to move their lips, they're probably trying to move their mouth, and they're probably trying to say something. But for whatever reason, the medium that they are trying to talk through isn't allowing us to perceive those words. And so I agree, I think, with our recorders and stuff like that aren't affected as much as that medium. So perhaps that medium that is preventing it is in our own minds, and maybe it's in our own brains or something there that separates our consciousness from the spiritual world. Some people might call it a veil, or whatever. We are talking about, the veil is thin here. That's why we have more activity. We can, you know, hear more things. You know, maybe it's certain lunar conditions. I don't know. You know, that's the great thing about what we do. And this brings us back to why it's so important that we find reputable teams and people that are looking into this stuff that we can collaborate with, because up until now, as far as I know, nobody's put a ghost in the jar and displayed it out for the whole world to see. So we're all still trying to figure this stuff out, you know, and that's where people need to start putting aside their pride and their egos and stuff like that. And it's okay to say, I don't know. We're trying to find out what is it that you're doing? What is it that we're doing? How can we, you know, make this work? Maybe we can start answering some of these questions, these really deep and interesting things. Because as soon as we start toppling that first domino, the rest are going to start falling a lot easier, I hope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I wonder if it's our own ego that doesn't allow us to hear them, you know, in audio way, like, you know, because we're so, you know, as humans, we usually have 100,000 things going on in our head, or maybe we've got, you know, we're thinking about tomorrow's dinner or bills or whatever it is, and we it just doesn't allow us to hear them on, you know, at that particular, because some of the audio that I've heard, you know, as an investigator, even in my, you know, my day job. It's been surprising. Like, you weren't expecting it. You weren't expecting an answer. You weren't expecting, you know, it usually came in just poof out of the blue, and you're like, what the hell was that? Like, this isn't supposed to, you know, but you're sort of in that place where you're open-minded to hearing it. You know, I remember walking into a basement. We went into this one house and we were walking down the stairs into the basement, and all of a sudden we heard, hello there. And I was like, okay. But it was all of us that heard it. And there was no one else in the house except for those that were here, you know, with us. And it was a separate residence, not attached to anything. And we were like, did I just lose my mind in here? Like, did you guys hear this? And but sometimes I wonder. Somebody was saying on Facebook, I can't see your name unfortunately because it's coming out Facebook user. Is that Cody? Because sometimes he comes in as Facebook user. But he says, Kathy, it's possible we can't hear because the frequency is different. And absolutely, absolutely, right?
Yeah. Somebody asked me today at the festival. They were asking about our voice recorders and what frequency range that they are looking at. I have no idea. I'm not a techie. I said my answer was I'm guessing that it is based. It probably varies between the different models of voice recorders, but obviously they're picking up some sounds that we're not hearing, but it also doesn't pick up sounds that we do hear sometimes as well. So it's a great question. I really liked what you said about how noisy that our minds are, and our lack of perception. I've said for years that I believe that as adults walking down the street, we probably see spirits and don't recognize them. We might hear things, but what we do is we have a tendency as adults to rationalize things and make it make sense in our mind. So, I thought I heard somebody call my name. Oh, it was just my mistake. Nobody called my name. It was my imagination, or I heard something else. Whereas you look at children, and children are just very accepting of the world around them. They just take it at face value, and what they see is what they see, which is why I think that children see ghosts or monsters in their closet, or they hear things, and they're so much more in tune with that world because they don't have that noise in their minds.
Yes.
And they don't rationalize things. They don't rationalize things away. And that's, one thing I learned early on as an investigator was just to try not to do that. Like, if I think I hear something, if I think I see something, I don't just automatically dismiss it anymore. Like, that was nothing.
Yeah.
Well, take a look into it deeper. And, 9 times out of 10, I found something a little bit more. So,
I go back to Kathy with the ego and stuff like that. I don't necessarily think that it's an ego. I think that it's like what you were saying. I think it's just our brains are too busy.
Mm-hmm.
I wholeheartedly believe. In fact, I know that whatever's there is projecting on different frequency. For example, our bodies is only designed a certain way. We can only see certain colors. We can only hear up to certain frequencies. Every now and again, our system gets a glitch where people see apparitions and stuff like that. But then we're looking through that window. I wholeheartedly believe things like that. With EVPs, I believe again, EVPs are project. There's 3 different principles behind it. What I believe, first is deemed as paranormal. The third is natural reason behind it. It's all to do with vibration and and it's tapping into that frequency of vibration as well. For example, so the first one would be, I believe that there's an entity or spirit communicating to us, and it is intelligent, because I know in the past the EVPs I've got solidified a lot of evidence for me, like things like my whole name, the client's name, things that you wouldn't randomly get through as a random EVP if it was that kind of scientific perception, where it was that residual, where you go into someone's house and it's the same thing going over and over and over again, which is number 2 point, which would be the residual, where you walk into a house, and Margaret lived there for 78 years, and Margaret got up in the morning and she walked across that corridor at 5 a.m. and had a pee and went downstairs every morning at 5 a.m. So we go into the house as the 18 paranormal team, and we go in and sit down. We've now got Margaret walking across the stairs and walking down the stairs, walking across the hallway and walking down the stairs. We've got her name blurting out every left, right, and centre because she lived there. That was a part of her that went into that house.
Yeah.
Third thing as well would be, have you guys ever been in investigations where you've had your voice being mimicked?
Yes.
No.
Your own voice, or you
But my son hears it all the time, and he'll hear me. Especially when he was younger, he would hear me calling him all the time. That was weird.
So there's a famous parapsychologist called Peter Underwood, and Lynda, you may have heard of him back in the UK. And I went to one of his seminars about 20 something years ago before I left England to live in Australia. And there's one thing he got up and said, which is at the time I kind of didn't really get, but I get it now. And it was something along the lines of, do you think a ghost would exist if it was 100 miles away from civilization and no one ever stepped foot into that area? Would a ghost exist in that area? And that his interpretation is more kind of the parapsychology side, where he believes most of it's to do with mind, and we are either replicating or we're producing that sound that's coming through on that EVP through vibration. We're producing it, or we're making that sound happen. So indirectly, I'm trying to get Margaret to say hello to me, and I'm then with my own mind making that Margaret say hello to me. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but that's kind of the paramount behind parapsychology. It's more to do with the mind, and that was kind of one of the premises. I do believe in that because of obviously the investigations I've been on, where I've heard my name, I've heard myself talk, and I know wholeheartedly that I never said anything at that time. I've had numerous investigators say the same thing as me. It's like, holy shit, this is an EVP of me, and it's just like, well, it sounds like you, and you're kind of like, well, did she say something? And it was like, no, she was downstairs at the time, or something like that. Something compelling as that, where we validated the fact that she wasn't even in the room, but she was in the proximity. So they're the kind of margins I have with EVPs, but the basics bit is vibration, and we're not able. Going back to my original point, we're not able to tap into that frequency, and I think that there has been times in people's lifetime where they're able to, like, i.e. near-death experiences, where your body just resets. Going back to your point, Trevor, about like children being able to see things that adults can't see because our brain switches off. But when you have a near-death experience, like when I came out of a transplant, like my body reset. I had things come apparent to me. Not, I wasn't suddenly seeing dead people or anything like that, but things become a lot more apparent with my own health and my own mental capacity as well. And it's that premise as well that makes that kind of thing happen. And I think that is tapping into that frequency. And somehow one day, hopefully we'll get a little bit further, but I don't know. It's the only way we're going to do it. We're not going to do it through equipment or gadgets or anything like that. It assists us, but the only way we're going to do it is through here. That's the only way we're going to do it. I don't see us ever inventing a box that will make us repeatedly get answers over and over and over and over again, and get a knowledge of where they go once they finish talking to us. Because obviously, do they stay there? Sorry, but I digressed a little bit there. But that's kind of my thought pattern behind that.
Yeah,
that's great. And that's the great thing about this field. Is that there is no wrong theory at this point. And the more that we have these discussions, it's that starts sparking new ideas and more thoughts behind how we can approach these things. I was going to ask you, Pete, when we talk about the difference between an EVP and a disembodied voice. So we get EVPs, and I don't disagree with the theory about this, a lot of this being projected by our minds, and we can talk about pareidolia and things like that all the time, that our minds plays tricks on us. We think we're seeing something, we think we're hearing something. That's a real thing. That's a proven thing. However, when we go to places that I have no idea what to expect, and I hear a disembodied voice come back of a when I was investigating the Geyser Grand one year, I mean, clear as day, little girl giggling in the basement. I mean, it was cool, and I was like, oh, I hope somebody else heard that. Other people heard it. Not only that, we caught it on recorder. So when we're talking, same voice that we're getting on an EVP that we won't hear, now we're hearing it as a disembodied voice that's also being caught on the recorder. So what are we talking? Are we talking about perhaps a difference in energy level that is being produced by that spirit?
I think, in all honesty, when I've had those, let's take a step back. Like one of the very first EVPs I got from a digital recorder, probably about 17, 18 years ago, was basic mumbo jumbo. Like you couldn't understand it or anything like that. A friend of mine was developing audio software, and he actually works for a famous record label in London. And it's a voice. I believe that when those voices come through and they sound like grumbled and stuff like that, it's a voice that's coming through in a different wavelength and a different level, and it's projecting a different sound level as well. So it's kind of like a radio. It's like a frequency coming through, but at the wrong wavelength for our own ears. And what it's doing is that's why people. You get a lot of investigations where people go, "Oh, I heard growling" and stuff like that. I don't know. I've had EVPs before where people have heard growling, but when I've slowed it right down, I can actually hear voice. So I think that growling is more. It's that voice trying to break through the frequency level to what we can hear. Whatever's produced, it might be someone going, "Hello, Trevor," but in our own ears as it comes through. It's like, I'm gonna fucking kill you, like that, and we're like, oh my god, it's growling, it's gonna kill us. But it's the way it's projected through. But going back to the projection and your example, going back to how you got that voice and stuff like that. It's not my theory about the third theory. It wasn't the fact it wasn't pareidolia or anything like that. It's what we actually produce with our own minds more than anything else. And we're hearing subconscious thoughts coming through the EVP player back to us, what we're projecting as well. And it's not us manipulating the environment, making, John the Ghost speak a certain way. It's us actually saying, I need to get the fuck out of here. And it's coming back in the voice recorder. And the reasoning behind it being is, like I said earlier, was that I've had investigators, and I've even heard it myself, my own voice, and things that I haven't even said. I might have subconsciously thought that. I don't know. But it's at the time, well, I've had a camera pointed at me at that time, that kind of thing. So it's a field that is, it's ever evolving, but we will never actually truly know until we actually get there, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I still have hopes we're going to start making some breakthroughs before we get there. So
I hope so. I do, but I think that before we look at technology, I think that we need to work with ourselves more about not so much the the psychic side and tuning into ghosts and stuff like that, but as a field as well, we need to kind of pull our big boy pants up and start working together as well, because there's a lot of great people out there with great ideas, and we need to start getting a better understanding of what they're doing, and then eventually we might have a greater path to walk on.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So
yes, 100%. I think that's it. I think we're out of time. We've gone over a little bit, but thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the show, and welcome again, Trevor, to the panel.
Thank you.
And we will be back next week with another show, same time, same place, and with a new guest. And if you like the content of the show, please subscribe and click on notifications. And have a great week. See you guys next week.
Bye.